The clock's ticking. By May 25th, shelves across the country will quietly lose stock of items most shoppers aren't even thinking about yet. These aren't trending products. They're the quiet essentials. And if you don't grab them, now you'll either pay double later or go without. Whether it's food, flavor, fuel, or function, the products on this list will be the first to vanish as summer demand surges and global supplies tighten. In this video, we're breaking down 10 grocery items you must get before May 25th, 2025, because once the shelves are empty, there's no restock warning. Before we dive in, drop your city in the comments. We're tracking shortages by location, and you might help another prepper spot the trend early, and hit that like button. It helps this video reach more people who need to prep now, not later. Shortages don't start with chaos, they start with silence. Empty slots on shelves, one missing brand, a delayed restock that never comes. By the time the average shopper notices, the rush has already started. In this video, we'll walk through 12 essential grocery items that are at real risk of disappearing before May 25th. These aren't guesses, they're based on price trends, import delays, and real-time retail data. If you've got a pantry, prepper stash, or just want to stay ahead of rising costs, this list is your playbook. Let's jump in and beat the panic curve. Number 1. Shelf-stable. Eggs. These are a dietary cornerstone, but fresh eggs are fragile, perishable, and quickly vanish during even mild disruptions. That's why smart shoppers are turning to shelf-stable eggs, specifically powdered or freeze-dried versions, as a reliable, long-lasting alternative, and by May 25th, 2025, finding them might not be an option anymore. Shelf-stable eggs offer the full protein punch of real eggs without the short shelf life. They can be used in baking, scrambled for breakfast, or even rehydrated for omelets in a pinch. And unlike fresh eggs, they require no refrigeration, making them ideal for prepping, camping, or emergency food storage. Here's the issue. The freeze-drying and dehydration process is resource-heavy, requiring specialized facilities and stable agricultural supply chains. The U.S. still imports a significant portion of its powdered egg products or relies on bulk-grade production used mostly in commercial baking and food service, not consumer-sized packages. As of early May 2025, prices for powdered eggs have spiked 40%, and key suppliers are posting lead times of 4-6 weeks. The 1-pound cans or bulk pouches used to sit unnoticed on survival food sites, now they're back-ordered or capped per customer. In addition, bird flu outbreaks earlier this year created ripples through the poultry supply chain, tightening egg availability across the board. That's pushed more consumers to look for alternatives, and powdered eggs are at the top of that list. These eggs have a shelf life of 5 to 10 years, depending on packaging and storage conditions. That's a decade of protein security in one small can. If eggs are part of your daily routine or long-term food plan, this is one product you can't afford to miss. Don't wait for another surge in egg prices or a supply disruption to remind you. Grab your shelf-stable eggs now. Once they're gone, the restock won't be quick. Number 2. Powdered cheese. Cheese isn't just food. It's comfort, protein, calories, and morale. But real cheese doesn't last. That's why powdered cheese has become a must-have for long-term food storage. And if it's not in your pantry, already time's running out. By May 25th, 2025, it may be off the shelves entirely or priced beyond reason. Powdered cheese is more than a novelty. It's used in commercial sauces, boxed meals, camping kits, and survival food for a reason. It brings flavor, fat, and a creamy texture to pasta, rice, soups, potatoes, and even bread mixes, without requiring refrigeration. Here's the supply issue. Powdered cheese production relies on large-scale cheese drying operations, which are energy-intensive and rely on steady access to surplus dairy, usually from Wisconsin, California, and New Zealand. But with dairy demand rising globally and production costs spiking, fewer producers are offloading extra cheese for dehydration. Most are prioritizing fresh market sales or bulk industrial contracts over retail powder. As of May 2025, food storage companies and online retailers report limited inventory, with some products back-ordered for up to 6 weeks. Prices have risen more than 30% in the past 6 months alone, and large number 10 cans, the prepper standard, are disappearing from shelves first. The value of powdered cheese isn't just in taste. It's also dense in calories and fat, two things that become essential in crisis nutrition. When you're eating shelf-stable carbs like pasta, rice, or oats, this is the flavor upgrade that turns bland into satisfying. Shelf life? Unopened, it lasts up to 10 years in proper packaging. That's a decade of ready-to-go comfort food from a single container. You can portion it small, use it to make sauces, or mix it into casseroles, soups, and stews for extra flavor and richness. It's also one of the few long-term dairy items that stores clean and doesn't require freezing. Stock it now, because when prices spike again or shipments stall, powdered cheese will vanish faster than boxed mac and cheese during a snowstorm. Number 3, canned butter is more than a spread. It's a survival asset. And in long-term prepping, there's one form of butter that rises above the rest: canned butter. Rich in calories, shelf-stable for years, and virtually impossible to replicate once it's gone. This pantry gold is quickly vanishing. If you don't lock it in before May 25th, 2025, you may be out of luck. Canned butter, often imported from New Zealand or produced in small batches by specialty survival food companies, is real butter sealed in vacuum-tight cans. No refrigeration needed, no artificial substitutes, just long-lasting, high-fat nutrition. So why is it disappearing? First, global dairy supplies are under pressure. New Zealand, one of the world's largest dairy exporters, has experienced climate-related production declines and energy rationing affecting manufacturing. Meanwhile, U.S. producers are prioritizing fresh dairy with very little infrastructure dedicated to canning full-fat butter for retail sale. Second, imported canned butter is getting hit by higher tariffs and shipping delays, with port congestion and container prioritization pushing food shipments down the queue. These products aren't high volume, so they get sidelined easily. As of May 2025, popular brands like Red Feather and canned ghee alternatives are showing out of stock or limited quantity on multiple prepper and specialty food sites. Prices have increased over 60% in the past 12 months, and some listings are restricted to 1-2 cans per order. Why does this matter? Because in a real emergency, fat is hard to come by. Canned beans and grains are everywhere, but fat? Essential. For brain function, energy, and flavor, it's one of the most overlooked macronutrients in crisis prep. And butter delivers all three in a form your body knows how to use. Each can last up to 10 years unopened, and once opened, it keeps for weeks. Use it in cooking, baking, spreading, or frying. It also becomes a top-tier barter item when supplies get tight. Get it while you can, because once it's gone, butter won't be back for a long time, and your pantry will feel it. Number 4, salt. Salt might be cheap, plentiful, and everywhere now, but that won't last. As we move closer to late May 2025, salt, especially bulk, non-iodized, and specialty types, is quietly being bought up by those who understand just how vital it really is. Salt isn't just a seasoning. It's a preservative, disinfectant, electrolyte source, and essential mineral your body cannot function without. It's used in curing meat, fermenting vegetables, preserving cheese, salting water for pasta, and even brushing teeth or treating wounds in extreme situations. Here's the catch. Modern salt production and packaging rely on a mix of mining operations, evaporative processing, packaging facilities, and global transport. With shipping costs rising, energy constraints hitting production, and increased demand from both the prepper and homesteading communities, salt is being quietly scooped up in large volumes. As of May 2025, warehouse stores are already reporting lower inventory on 25 and 50 lb bags of canning and sea salt. Online retailers are limiting bulk orders, especially for non-iodized and solar evaporated salt, which are preferred for food preservation and long-term storage. Prices, which held steady for years, are now climbing steadily, up 20–30% in the past 6 months. Why does this matter? Because salt is impossible to replace. Your body needs sodium to function. Without it, dehydration, muscle cramps, and electrolyte imbalance set in quickly, especially in high-stress or high-exertion environments. Salt also has no expiration date. When stored properly, it lasts forever. That makes it one of the highest-value, lowest-cost preps you can make. You need salt for seasoning bland food, preserving meat, curing, brining, drying, fermenting vegetables, like sauerkraut and pickles, making oral rehydration solutions. First aid uses like saltwater rinses and wound cleansing bartering, especially. When fresh food gets scarce, don't rely on small table shakers or processed salt blends. Look for pure sea salt, kosher salt, or canning salt in large bags or buckets, and store them sealed from moisture. Salt might seem simple, but when shelves go bare and food needs preserving, it'll be one of the most fought-over items around. Stock it deep. Number 5. Protein bars. In any emergency, protein is gold, and nothing delivers it faster, easier, or with less prep than protein bars. They're compact, calorie-dense, and require no cooking or cleanup. But by May 25, 2025, they'll be in short supply, and not just the fancy brands. Protein bars are often overlooked in prepping circles because they're seen as snacks, but in reality, they're portable survival rations packed with protein, fiber, fats, and essential nutrients. Whether you're bugging out, stuck in a blackout, or just rationing pantry meals, a few bars can stretch your energy and morale in a big way. Here's the issue. Most protein bars rely on imported ingredients like whey protein isolate, soy protein, nuts, and specialty fibers, plus packaging that requires foil laminate and oxygen barrier plastics. With global logistics delays rising, costs of raw ingredients, and manufacturers prioritizing high-volume retail contracts, many smaller and bulk prepper brands are out of stock or back-ordered. As of May 2025, popular bars like Quest, RX Bar, and Cliff are seeing price increases between 20 to 35%, especially in bulk packs. Wholesale club stores are limiting variety options, and online bulk sellers are facing growing wait times. Protein bars also have solid shelf life, usually 12-18 months or more, and they're easy to rotate in daily use or stash in go bags, cars, work drawers, or emergency kits. They're ideal for kids, elderly, or anyone who needs fast nutrition. Without fuel or prep, in a survival scenario, these bars are more than food. They're morale boosters and quick recovery tools, especially during illness, exhaustion, or stress. And once fresh protein sources like eggs, meat, or tofu become limited, these bars become prime barter items, especially among families and on-the-go workers. Stock up now while prices are still manageable. Protein bars don't just fill the gap, they carry you through it. Number 6. Honey. In a crisis, sweetness is more than a luxury. It's comfort, energy, and survival fuel, and there's no better long-lasting sweetener than honey. But by May 25, 2025, honey, especially raw and unfiltered varieties, may be harder to find than you think. Unlike sugar, which can clump or degrade over time, honey has no expiration date. Archaeologists have found jars in ancient tombs still perfectly edible. That alone makes it a top-tier item for any prepper pantry. But the benefits go far beyond storage. Honey is a natural antibacterial, supports immune health, and can be used in tea, baking, sauces, and even wound care. In situations where refined sugar becomes scarce or overpriced, honey becomes a versatile sweetener and medicine rolled into one. So why is it disappearing? Because bee populations continue to decline, and commercial beekeepers are under pressure from rising costs, pesticide exposure, and climate change. Imports from Asia and South America are also facing increased tariffs, shipping delays, and authenticity concerns. Many imported honeys are being diluted or cut with syrup, making high-quality honey even rarer. As of May 2025, raw honey prices are up nearly 30% year over year, and trusted brands are getting harder to find in bulk. Farmers markets and local suppliers are seeing their stock vanish earlier in the season, with pre-buyers snatching up jars for long-term storage. Honey is also a top barter item. In any crisis, when sugar disappears and fresh fruit becomes rare, people will trade heavily for even a small jar of golden sweetness. Stock up now. Look for raw, unfiltered, and local, if possible. Store in glass jars. Keep it cool and sealed, and let honey be your long-term sugar solution when others are stuck with none. Number 7. Lentils. Lentils might not grab headlines, but they're one of the most efficient, shelf-stable protein sources you can buy, and they're slipping off shelves faster than most people realize. As we approach May 25, 2025, smart shoppers are already noticing shorter supplies and rising prices. Why are lentils such a big deal? Because they're cheap, packed with protein, and require minimal cooking time, much less than dry beans. 1 cup of cooked lentils provides around 18 grams of protein, plus essential fiber, iron, and B vitamins. They don't need soaking, boil fast, and can be transformed into stews, soups, patties, or even salads. But the supply chain is under pressure. India and Canada are the world's top lentil producers, and both are currently battling agricultural constraints, water shortages, and reduced planting. Meanwhile, global demand is rising from regions shifting toward plant-based and non-refrigerated proteins. The U.S. produces some lentils, but not enough to meet rising domestic needs. As of May 2025, lentil prices are up 35% year over year, and many bulk suppliers are struggling to fill orders for 25 and 50-pound bags. Retailers are shrinking shelf space for lentils, especially in favor of more expensive pre-cooked pouches and mixed grain blends. Why this matters? In a survival or inflation scenario, lentils stretch your food supply further than almost anything else. You can add them to rice, soups, pasta, or even grind them into flour for high-protein flatbreads. They're also excellent for vegan or vegetarian preppers who need protein without cold storage. With a shelf life of 3+ years when stored properly, lentils are one of the smartest pantry investments out there. If you haven't stocked up yet, now's the time, because once lentils are gone, your options for quick, reliable protein shrink fast.
Number 8. Canned tomatoes. Tomatoes aren't just a vegetable, they're the backbone of thousands of recipes. And when it comes to long-term prep, canned tomatoes are among the most critical grocery items you can stock. But as we approach May 25th, 2025, they're becoming harder to find and more expensive with every week. Whether it's whole, diced, crushed, pured, or turned into sauce or paste, canned tomatoes provide the foundation for pasta sauces, stews, soups, curries, chili, and casseroles. Their high acidity also helps them preserve better and longer than many other vegetables, making them a pantry powerhouse. So what's the issue? First, the U.S. tomato crop, especially in California's Central Valley, where most canned tomato
products originate, has been hit hard by droughts, water restrictions, and reduced planting.
Farmers are switching to higher profit crops or cutting tomato acreage altogether. At the same time, global demand for canned tomato products continues to surge.
Second, the metal supply chain is still under stress. Steel shortages rising. Costs and manufacturing delays have caused ripple effects throughout the canned goods industry. That's why many retailers have reduced variety, shelf space, and multi-pack options. As of May 2025, prices for canned tomato products have jumped 25–40%, and several brands have already pulled back on production or consolidated their product lines. Bulk buying preppers, home canners, and budget shoppers are clearing shelves. Faster than stores can restock, canned tomatoes have a shelf life of 2 to 5 years, especially when stored in a cool, dry place. And their uses are so universal, they're nearly impossible to replace. Don't assume they'll always be available. Stock your diced, crushed, and paste while you still can, because every pantry needs a reliable base.
Number 9. Rolled oats. You might think of rolled oats as just breakfast, but in a survival pantry, there's so much more. Versatile, nutrient-rich, and long-lasting, oats are an ideal prep food. And as we approach May 25th, 2025, rolled oats are beginning to disappear from both bulk suppliers and retail shelves. Why oats? They're a high-fiber, slow-digesting carbohydrate that provides energy, protein, and satiety. 1 cup of cooked oats delivers about 6 grams of protein and 4 grams of fiber. Perfect for breakfast or as a base for stretching other ingredients. You can make porridge, add them to baked goods, use them in meatloaf substitutes, or grind them into oat flour. But the supply chain isn't holding steady. Most oats come from Canada and the northern U.S., and recent years have brought extreme weather patterns, late freezes, droughts, and floods that disrupted planting and harvesting cycles. Processing facilities are also feeling pressure from labor shortages and increased export demand from Europe and Asia. As of May 2025, bulk oats are up nearly 30%, and many warehouse stores are restricting purchases or prioritizing commercial clients. Online sellers show frequent out-of-stock messages on 10 lb and 25 lb bags. The good news? Rolled oats store well, 2 to 3 years in their original packaging and up to 10+ years when sealed in mylar with oxygen absorbers. If oats are part of your diet or prep strategy, grab them now. Once the harvest cycle tightens again, this quiet staple could vanish without warning. Number 10. Apple cider vinegar. It's not flashy, but apple cider vinegar, ACV, is one of the most useful and versatile items in any prepper's pantry, and it's disappearing faster than most people realize. As we close in on May 25th, 2025, the window to stock up on this essential is shrinking.
ACV isn't just a cooking ingredient, it's used for preserving food, pickling, cleaning, digestion support, sore throat relief, and even as a natural pesticide. It stores almost indefinitely and doesn't require refrigeration, making it ideal for long-term preparedness.
But there's a growing problem in the supply chain. The production of apple cider vinegar depends heavily on domestic apple harvests, particularly in states like Washington, New York, and Michigan. Over the last 2 years, those regions have faced late frosts, drought conditions, and unpredictable harvest yields, all reducing apple availability. Moreover, high-quality raw, unfiltered ACV, the kind with the mother, takes time to ferment and filter properly. Many producers are now struggling to keep up with increased demand from both health-conscious consumers and homesteaders who rely on ACV for canning, fermenting, and natural remedies. As of May 2025, prices have risen 25 to 35%, and many retailers are reporting stock limitations on organic and bulk sizes, particularly 1-gallon jugs and glass-bottled versions. Apple cider vinegar also has barter value, especially for those making herbal tinctures, cleaning supplies, or fermented foods. It can even help stabilize blood sugar during high-carb ration periods. With a shelf life of 5 years or more when stored properly, it's one of the smartest, most multifunctional preps available. Stock up now, because when supply shrinks. Further, ACV will be one of the first non-essentials to disappear, even though it's anything but. These 10 grocery items aren't luxury buys, they're survival priorities, and the clock is ticking. By the time May 25th arrives, shelves could already be cleared, prices will rise, options will shrink, and the shoppers who waited will be scrambling, but you won't be one of them. You've seen what's at risk, you've got the list. Now it's time to act. You don't need to buy everything today, but start somewhere. 1 or 2 items now can make all the difference later. Check your pantry, make a short list, shop smart, before the shelves go quiet, and do this before you go. Drop your city. In the comments, let's track where shortages are starting. You might help another prepper beat the rush or find one near you. Also, tell us which item surprised you most. Are any already missing in your area? Like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We'll keep covering the quiet disappearances before they turn into full-blown headlines. Stay sharp, stay stocked, and stay ready.